Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel here and to another turkey pattern test video. And I'm still out here, a little bit stuffy, getting over a cold, so I apologize for that. But I think we've got a setup combination today that is gonna produce some pretty good results if I had to take a guess right now. That being the Mossberg 835 Ulti-Mag with the Indian Creek 675 constriction choke, along with the Winchester Longbeard XR 1 3/4 ounce of number 5s. Now this will only be the second time we've shot Longbeards on the channel through this 835. We tested the 6s out of the Kicks 680 choke and they did pretty well from what I can remember. But I think these 5s in this Indian Creek are going to be a really surprisingly good setup. If you can even say surprising, because they're Longbeard shells and they seem to perform well out of just about anything you put them through. But this will be the first time we've tested the Longbeard 5s through this 835 on the channel. So we'll see what happens here, but I expect to see some pretty good results down here on the target with them anyway. Speaking of which, I've got the target set up over here at 40 yards away from the bench with the new paper backer to it. So how do you guys like that new paper that I'm using so far? It's a little bit easier to work with than the old brown paper bag setup that I normally work with, having to cut them open. So it definitely is a little bit easier to work with, but how do you guys like it? Is it anything better, or does it make any kind of difference for y'all one way or the other? Let me know. But anyway, the target is set up over here at 40 yards from the bench. So let's take these Longbeard 5s back here and run them through this 835 in Indian Creek and see what they can do down there on the target. I think we're in for a pretty good pattern on this one. All right, we're all set up back at the bench here at 40 yards. So let's run these Longbeard 1 3/4 ounce load of 5s through this 835 Ulti-Mag and the Indian Creek 675 choke and see what they can do down there on the target. Alright, so this is what we got out of those Longbeard 5s in that 835 with that Indian Creek 675 choke. And I think we were just a touch to the left there, but that is a hot core for lead 5s right there. Now, yes, as we pull back here, we do see a couple of these flyers around the outside here every so often. But as a whole, I really can't complain too much about that pattern. That is a pretty nasty turkey pattern right there. That's pretty much what I expect to see out of a Longbeard shell, most of the time anyway. In this core area here, you have a ton of pellets, and even though there are just ever so tiny void areas here that I guess you could call them, there's nothing there that turkey's going to walk through at 40 yards. Not at all. And although I don't like to shoot turkeys past 40 yards, I would say you could probably push that load to 50 if you had to. But of course, I would always recommend to test that first before you try it on a live bird anyway. But I am not disappointed in how that performed. If you haven't seen the first test we did with the Longbeard 6s out of that 835, they definitely didn't perform bad, but they didn't perform exactly like I expected them to either. So I'll leave a card above there for you to go look at that video if you haven't seen it yet. But I definitely think so far, this 835 is liking these Longbeard 5s, at least through that Indian Creek 675 anyway. But I can't really complain too much about that at all. That's absolutely a turkey killer anytime you would take it out in the woods. And as for our wad here, it is just your typical Longbeard XR wad. Nothing super special about it. These don't have any particular kind of gas shock piston system or anything like that on the tail. They're just flat. Nothing super special to look at, but maybe it did catch the ribs on the inside of that Indian Creek choke just a little bit on this one tab right here. Maybe that could have caused a couple of the flyers, but overall, nothing special to look at. Little bit of buffer material down in the bottom corner, but no pellets like we've seen out of the last couple shells anyway. Alright, well, what did y'all think about it? I definitely don't have a lot to complain about there. Yes, we did see a couple of flyers, but For a lead load and for a longbeard load that I've shot quite a number of over the years, that's about what I expect to see. You pretty much always see a few flyers out of those loads. But for that core that we got right there, I really can't complain too much about that. That setup definitely seemed to work pretty well together. So I definitely think we should try to run those Longbeard 5s and the Longbeard 6s through that gun in the stock choke, the kicks choke, and the Indian Creek choke. Mix and match the shells and chokes combo and see what we can get out of some of the other combinations, because those 835s definitely pattern well, and this is definitely a good example of it. But all in all, I really can't complain too much about that combination at all. So leave a comment and let me know what you think about it. Do you like that? Is that about what you've seen out of these Longbeard shells? Do you use the Longbeards if you have an 835 like that? And what choke do you run with them? Leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts about them, because I'm liking what I'm seeing so far out of them. And I definitely think we can test a few different combinations and see what else we get as well. But I've still got one more pattern test that I'd like to get filmed while I'm out here today before we have some weather and wind rolling in. So I'm going to get back to it and try to get this last one knocked out. So stay tuned for that one, because it's going to be interesting and something a little bit different. It'll be coming out very soon anyway. But on that note, I'm going to get back to it, and I'll see y'all in the next one.